Hello everyone, welcome to another Stukent expert session. My name is Trevor Erickson and I'm excited to introduce Dave Schneider, our expert in the field today. Dave is the co-founder of a pretty awesome influencer marketing tool called Ninja Outreach. I actually stumbled across Ninja Outreach last year and fell in love with the platform. We've asked Dave to share his knowledge and expert tips on how a brand can effectively pursue influencers and involve them with their overall strategy for growth. Without further ado, here's Dave.
Hey everyone, this is Dave from Ninja Outreach, and today we're going to be talking about how to find and work with influencers to effectively grow your brand, in this case otherwise known as influencer marketing. Just before we get into that, I'd like to talk a little bit just about myself and why I'm here. So in 2010, a couple years ago, I was just a math major in college. I quit my, I got a job as a business analyst at a financial services company where I worked for 2 years and learned about business and marketing. But after 2 years, I quit and decided to go backpacking basically around the world. And I started blogging and doing digital marketing. And I got involved in basically that sphere. And finally, in 2014, I started a software business called Ninja Outreach, which is an influencer marketing software. I've been working on that for 2 years, been involved in the industry of influencer marketing, and would like to share what I've learned with you today. So what we're going to be covering are 5 basic topics. Number 1 is what is influencer marketing. Number 2 is how to find influencers. Number 3 is ways to partner with influencers. 4 is how to pitch influencers, and 5 is some influencer marketing success stories. So basically we're going to be defining the concept, then walking you through how you could actually implement it, and then finally hopefully giving you some motivation as to why this works, how other people are using it. So firstly, I'd like to set the stage a little bit by saying, what is the current state of the consumer? Most of the people that are watching this, if you're going to be building any sort of marketing business, you're going to be looking to sell something. And so how do people buy? Well, nowadays, I like to think that we live in an age of a smarter consumer where people know how to do research. They know how to use different online platforms to look for recommendations. I was on Facebook recently, and a friend of mine was looking for an apartment, and she posted on Facebook saying, does anybody know about apartments in Cambridge? She's looking for recommendations from her friends, basically. And there's a quote here that says 80% of consumers said that they would purchase an ebook or software if they read a positive recommendation through social media. In short, people are looking for recommendations from people that they know and trust, whether they personally know them or whether they just trust them as an online authority before they make purchasing decisions. And they know how to go about finding those people. So who do they trust? Obviously, there's things like friends and family, of course. But when it comes to just online services, mostly people are looking at retail and brand sites, obviously. But next is blogs and social media. Blogs, Facebook, groups and forums, things like that. Which years ago, this wouldn't have been the case. Blogging was more of a hobby. It was just something that people sort of did on the internet to catalog their experiences. But nowadays, blogs and social media are becoming respected authorities on different topics, and people are going to them looking for advice. And that's just the way that things have really been changing recently, and that's essentially resulted in the emergence of what we call influencer marketing. So influencer marketing is what I like to have as this juxtaposition where on the left you probably have maybe your business or blog, and maybe it just started, you don't have much of an audience, kind of crickets. Meanwhile, on the right, you have these influencers in your niche who have large followings. These are people like bloggers, these are people like social media experts, journalists, all of these people that their primary job and focus has been to build large audiences of people who trust them. So you could imagine if you could merge the two of them, it could be very good for your business and good for the influencer as well. And basically what we're going to be talking about is how do you go about merging these two things. So influencer marketing falls under what we call inbound marketing. This is a slide from HubSpot, which is kind of a really big proponent of inbound marketing, software company. they tend to think of outbound marketing as this sort of this red area of the circle. It's the things that everybody typically hates. It's things like pop-ups. It's things like contextual ads. It's things like commercials in your radio and TV. Whereas there's this other form of marketing, which they classify as inbound marketing, which is basically the things that you want to find. Influencer marketing, blogging, listening to a public speaker, word of mouth. These are the things that you tend to come across organically when you're searching for something. For example, they say, SEO and PPC is basically a way of being present when a person is looking to buy. So you can think of the main difference with inbound marketing as inbound marketing is the type of marketing somebody sees when they want to be marketed to, when they're actually looking for something, whereas outbound marketing is what they receive when they're doing something else. Influencer marketing falls under that classification of inbound marketing. So hopefully that was clear as to really what influencer marketing is and where it falls into the spectrum of marketing as a whole. So now, how do you actually go about doing it? How do you actually find influencers? Well, I've been doing this for about 2 years now, and I've talked with hundreds of people on the phone in our software to understand how they go about searching for influencers when they want to start an influencer marketing campaign. And as you can imagine, most people start with Google, right? That's what we mostly start with for almost everything. You basically go onto Google and you run a search for marketing blogs. Okay, I want to find out who's an influencer in the marketing niche. And you can do that, and you'll find posts like the 25 best marketing blogs of 2014 or something, these sort of list posts and things like that. But you can also probably imagine it's really not the most efficient, it's not the most scalable way of doing things. It's just kind of a way to get started. It's fine, but it doesn't really make for a whole campaign. Another thing is to think from the perspective of where do influencers come from? How do they interact with other people on the web? Well, a lot of influencers comment on other people's websites. So if you found one person who you like in, say, the marketing niche, if you start looking at the comments on their articles, you can see other influencers. And often with the way WordPress is set up, which is the platform that most people use for blogging, you can click over to somebody's website based on their comment because it's hyperlinked to their name and see what they're writing about. And that's just another way to kind of find essentially some influencers when you only have one to start with. Another group of people is what we call linkers. So influencers tend to link to other influencers, meaning that if I'm writing an article about marketing, I'm probably going to reference someone else who's written articles about marketing as well. So if you have one article, you can easily look at the outbound links into that and see who's being linked to. Or on the reverse, you can see who's linking to your article using a tool like Moz or Ahrefs or any of these tools, which are usually freemium. You can put in the URL and see who's linked to them, and this gives you some idea as to, well, who are other people that are writing about such and such topics. Next, we have sharers. In a similar way to linkers, sharers are people that have shared an article before. Basically, they are reading about for example, marketing. They're sharing the article. We can find on Twitter using applications like Buzzsumo, for example, who has shared a post. Another way to find influencers. Buzzsumo, which was the application that I just mentioned, is really great for finding, say, the top articles on the web about a specific topic, and then you can see who's linked to it, who shared it, a lot of the things that we were just talking about just now in terms of how to find influencers, but combined into an application. One more is Followwonk, similar type of thing where you can search to see who has relevant keywords in their bio. So basically, maybe you want to see who defines themselves as a marketing blogger in their Twitter bio, but searching Twitter could be a little bit difficult or impractical. Therefore, you can use something like Followwonk. And finally, we have Manjaris. Full disclosure, this is my software. It's an influencer marketing software. You can type in a keyword, and we're going to pull up influencers as well who we feel are relevant to that keyword and give you a bunch of data. So these are the main ways that you can go about basically finding influencers. You can do Google searches. You can look on their social profile bios bios, you can see who's been linking to a post, who's been commenting, who's been sharing. And then we mentioned a couple of applications that basically streamline that process for you, make it go a bit faster. So when it comes to influencer marketing campaigns, in general, finding influencers is not that difficult. There are thousands out there in most niches, and there are a lot of applications that are reasonably priced that you can use to find them. What gets a bit tricky is this next part, is how to go about partnering with them, and this is where most people go wrong. Most people, when they approach marketing campaigns, or specifically influencer marketing campaigns, they're thinking about, what can I get from this person? I have this business, I have this product, I want to sell it. This person has a big audience. I want them to sell my product to that audience. But they're not necessarily thinking about the holistic approach of, well, how do we get everybody involved so that everybody walks away as a winner? Because in many ways, from the influencer perspective, their business is the audience that they've built up. And therefore, they also want to be rewarded when they work with you. So it's pretty clear usually when you start an influencer marketing campaign what you'd like, which is usually sales and exposure. But I always caution people to think about, well, what do you think the influencers you're going to work with and their audience is going to want as well? So a couple things there's a lot of different things you can do to partner with influencers, but just a couple of basic things that you may offer them. For example, a prominent blogger in a niche is to offer for them to be an affiliate of what you're selling, to actually pay them money up front for the work that they're doing, or to give them free access or a free copy of what you're selling. Similarly, for their audience, you can give away free copies or give them a discount. Essentially, give them something that they couldn't get elsewhere. Give them something that, basically rewards them for spending their time and sharing their audience with you. In that way, if you think of this sort of Venn diagram here, everybody walks away a winner. Everybody kind of gets something. Another area where people go wrong is typically with engagement. So basically, we're going to go through a couple different types of ways to work with influencers, but always consider the fact that when you start an outreach campaign to people, it's important that before you get to the stage of, well, how am I going to work with them, what am I going to offer them, that maybe you've made some attempt to get to know them personally. Maybe you've signed up to their newsletter, maybe you've shared posts that they've written, maybe you've commented on their blogs, subscribe to them on social media. The different ways that you might get yourself known and actually build a connection and relationship with the influencer, because that, by and large, is going to help you be a lot more successful with your campaigns. So, in terms of the types of partnerships that people often do with influencers, one of the easiest one is guest posts. Guest posting is when you write an article on their blog, it then gets published, and their audience sees the article that you wrote. It most often will link to, therefore the audience can click back, see your website. You also get some benefits from SEO from having an inbound link from a prominent website. For Ninja Outreach, when we were trying to grow our business 2 years ago, and even today, we did tons of guest posts. I did 100 in a year. I was publishing 8 guest posts a month on different marketing blogs in the niche to get out there, and for me it helped me significantly sort of build up our authority for the business, because people saw that I was writing a lot of content about influencer marketing. Next is a giveaway. The giveaway is exactly what it sounds like. It's when you give away product. This works great, for example, with software where it doesn't really cost anything to give away an account. There's a pretty low marginal cost for giving away software account. But I've seen a lot of people do it in other niches like fashion, where they maybe give away clothes or even jewelry to some degree, or food-based products all the time. So this often can be used where you maybe give away a few products, and then maybe you give a discount to everybody else who didn't win the giveaway, but then gives them the opportunity to buy at somewhat of a special price. So giveaways are great too. We used to do a lot of those. Next is product reviews. This is when you would actually give your product to the influencer and ask them to write about it. It's in some ways it has some similarity with guest posting in that you're basically producing content on the influencer's website. But what makes this a bit different is that Number one, the influencer is writing it and not you, and therefore they're bringing a lot of the trust and authority that they've established with their audience into the article. And number two, the focus of the article is going to be about your product, because it's a review, as opposed to a guest post where you might be writing about a topic like influencer marketing, for example, in our case. We would always do a lot of product reviews with people. We'd give away the software for free, ask people to basically write about it. And now, for example, if you were to search Ninja Outreach, you'll see all these really great reviews of people that reviewed the product. And you can imagine from a consumer perspective, when they want to basically say, well, what is the best influencer marketing software, or what do people think about Ninja Outreach? It's really good to have built up this credibility across the web of all these different people reviewing it and writing about that. It builds a lot of trust so that people know that it's sort of a legitimate thing. Next is with an affiliate program. Again, as I mentioned earlier, from the influencer's perspective, their audience is their business. Their business has been working on growing an audience. Often, though, this comes at the expense of creating something to sell to that audience. So they might spend time building a large audience, but they don't necessarily have something to sell. And therefore, if you can offer them to be an affiliate of your product, or maybe you give them 10, 15, even 50% of any sales that are made, is a real nice way to basically help them monetize their website, but also show appreciation for what they're doing. So, for example, for us, we go 50-50 with everybody that we work with. If they promote our product and make sales, they get 50% of everything that is made. So we think it's a very fair model as well. Social media exposure would be something basically like sometimes large brands who have maybe they could have thousands, tens of thousands of followers on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. They can use this as an advantage, basically, to say, look, if you promote what we're marketing here, I'd be happy to basically share your stuff, your website, on our social media page. And in this way, the influencer has the opportunity to build an even larger audience. So social media can work well, too. Links, bloggers, people who are writing on the web, need links. They need links to their websites to basically get more authority in the eyes of social search engines and in Google. So you can link to them. A lot of times when we write content, for example, we're always referencing other influencers. We're linking to articles that they've written. And in this way, we can reach out to them and tell them, like, hey, look, we've been sharing what you've been writing. We've been linking to it. And it can be a nice icebreaker to another conversation or partnership. And finally, at least in this list, we have things like content features, which is you may have come across things like expert roundups. They're really popular nowadays. It's when you feature a lot of influencers in a post. You feature maybe a quote from them, a tip from them, something like that, a tweet. So again, this is all about offering exposure to the influencer as part of the marketing campaign. So you can feature them in the content that you've written. So those are sort of the main ways that you would go about basically working with influencers. We discussed what you can sort of offer them in terms of free product, money, affiliate programs, and also how you actually go about working with them. And the next part is going to be how you really write to them. Many of us have received emails that came across as basically spam, unpersonalized, almost deceptive, to be honest, poor grammar. I mean, just things that you just right away send to the spam box. That's not the type of pitch that we recommend. It takes some time, but we recommend that you try to get to know the person that you're writing to. Personalize them with their first name, a recent article that they've written, a project that they're working on, something that is just somewhat special, basically, and proves why you're reaching out to them, and not that you're just sort of reaching out to 1,000 people at once. So typically a good pitch will have a few different elements. Number one, it will be personalized. That's say, use their name, it references their blog, their website, something recent they did. Number two, it will be clear what you're asking for. I've seen a lot of pitches where nobody really got to the point as to what what they were even after about. So I'll say, look, I'm reaching out to you because I want to know if we could guest post on your website or you'd review our product. Next is some sort of credibility. If it's someone you don't really know well, I think it definitely helps to basically show that other people you've worked with other people. Hey, look, we've been featured here. I wrote this post here. I appeared on this podcast here. When you're just getting started and you have, obviously you have to start from scratch, but as you basically gain momentum and work with more people, you build up more credibility, and it makes it a lot easier for someone to take a chance on you and work with you, having seen that they that you worked with somebody else. And finally is the value. Again, back to the Venn diagram, the 3 circles. What are we offering to their audience? What are we offering to them? What do we want everybody to get out of this partnership that we're proposing? So, with all that said, in terms of how to run a basic influencer marketing campaign, how to go about and basically find influencers using applications or searching on the web, how to come up with the offer where everyone can basically be a winner, and the types of partnerships that you do, I want to leave you with some of the different influencer marketing case studies that we've seen on the web that other businesses, some of which are much larger than ours, have been talking about. Number 1 is Groove. Groove is a customer service application. They do hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in monthly recurring revenue. And one of the big things they've been talking about is influencer marketing. Quote from Alex, the CEO, says, nearly a month before we launched the blog, we began building a list of influencers who we wanted to build relationships with. Then we began engaging with them. Later, once they knew we existed and saw us as contributors, we sent them a small ask. It sounds simple. It's exactly what we talked about. Basically, coming up with a list of people in your niche, engaging with them, and then asking them when the time was right. And for them, this allowed them to basically grow to 5,000 newsletter subscribers in 5 weeks, which is a lot. It's definitely a ton of subscribers. Number 2 is Buffer. Buffer, one of the most popular social media applications in the marketing niche right now. They do over $10 million a year in annual recurring revenue. They've been around for a few years, and quote from co-founder Leo says, solely through guest blogging, we've acquired around 100,000 users within the first 9 months of running Buffer. It's been something that was very gradual, though. Within the space of around 9 months, I wrote around 150 guest posts. It's a lot of work, but look what they've built. This is when I said we wrote over 100 guest posts ourselves. These strategies have basically been proven to work for a lot of different products in a lot of different niches, and Buffer is another success story. And then finally, although we are not nearly as large as Groove or Buffer, I do think it's important to basically show that we also eat our own dog food, so to speak, that we also do a lot of influencer marketing. So for us, when we launched Ninja Outreach 2 years ago, we had basically no audience, no subscribers, starting from scratch. And we did what I said, which was we wrote a lot of guest posts, we got a lot of product reviews, we started an affiliate program to work with different bloggers, wrote content, reached out to people, and we've grown a lot since then. Basically, we now have about 500 customers, and just in the last year, our traffic has tripled. And it's all through inbound marketing. It's all with effectively a zero marketing budget. Aside from obviously paying for tools and things like that, we haven't done any paid advertising or anything like that. It's all inbound influencer marketing, and you can do it as well. So those are the 3 case studies. And the last thing I guess to mention was that aside from traffic, we've basically got a lot of nice mentions on things like Yahoo and Moz and Neil Patel and different websites. So in addition to obviously growing your traffic, you're building your brand and authority because people are seeing you all over the web. So that is the presentation on influencer marketing. I hope you found it very useful. If you have additional questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. My email is dave@ninjaoutreach.com. Obviously, my website is ninjaoutreach.com. I'm also on Twitter, but not super active on it, Skype, and LinkedIn. So thank you very much for, paying attention to this presentation, and I hope that you'll strongly consider influencer marketing to be part of the marketing strategy for your business or whatever future businesses you end up starting.